All right, today we're going to talk about hacking the most powerful tool you have, your brain. We're going to dig into why so much of what we learn at work just seems to evaporate almost instantly. We'll break down a really powerful method from Professor Pierluigi Piazzi that can turn you from a passive attendee into someone who actually builds permanent skills. Let's jump in. You know that feeling, right? You leave an all-hands meeting or a training webinar, and it feels like you just downloaded this massive file straight into your computer's recycle bin. You're definitely not alone. We're just flooded with information all day long, but how much of it actually sticks? How much becomes a real skill you can use? It's a huge frustration in the modern workplace. So check out this story. This quote comes from a student who realized that even though she was smart, even though she was dedicated, she was failing. And her big discovery is something that so many of us feel in our jobs. We've been taught to think we're learning when we're really just going through the motions. You know, the system taught us how to check a box or pass a test, but not how to build real, lasting knowledge. Okay, so let's get to the heart of the problem here. We all seem to live by this unwritten rule. If we just show up, we'll learn. We confuse being present with actually acquiring a skill. But the thing is, our brains just don't work that way. And really understanding that is the first step to actually getting smarter. Yeah, this right here just nails our modern work culture, doesn't it? We're all about those certificates of completion, right? The little check mark on our performance review. We're trained to chase that external good job sticker. But here's the kicker. That has almost nothing to do with how your brain actually forges a new skill. Real learning, that's an inside job.
And this brings us to the absolute core idea from Professor Piazzi's work. Learning is not one single thing. It's actually a two-part process, and frankly, most of us are putting all our effort into the wrong part.
This chart shows those two phases perfectly. So think of the left side. That's during the meeting. That's when you're just getting information. The speaker is doing all the work. But look at the right side. During solitary study. This is where the real learning, the actual doing, happens. It's after the meeting is over that your brain has to do the heavy lifting.
Let's break this down even further. During that webinar or meeting, you're pretty passive, right? You're just receiving info. The speaker is working hard, and what you get out of it is a temporary understanding. But after, in that quiet, focused time you set aside, you switch to an active role. You start to process that information. Your brain works to connect the dots. And that is how you turn that temporary flicker of understanding into permanent knowledge. So the most important thing to get is this. The meeting is for understanding, but the solo work is for learning. So, if that's the problem, what's the fix? Well, we have to totally reframe how we think about our own intelligence. It's not this fixed thing. It's much more like having powerful hardware that you can constantly upgrade with new software. And let's redefine intelligence while we're at it. Forget IQ scores for a second. A much more useful, practical definition is this. Intelligence is simply the ability to take new information and use it to solve new problems. See? It's not about what you know, it's about what you can do with what you know. It's a skill you can build, not some gift you're born with.
I absolutely love this metaphor. Your brain is the hardware. It's powerful, it's ready to go. A meeting, a book, a presentation, that just gives you the software, the little installer file. But to actually install that new skill, whether it's a new marketing strategy or a way to build a financial model, you have to double-click and run the installer. And that installation process, it's solitary, focused work.
And you know, this isn't just a cool metaphor. Learning is a physical, biological thing that happens in your head. When you actually sit down by yourself and you summarize your notes, or you try to apply a new concept, you are forcing your brain to build new pathways. You're forging new synaptic connections. You are literally, physically, rewiring your brain to be more capable than it was an hour ago. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually put this into practice tomorrow morning? Let's turn all this theory into a super simple, actionable plan you can use at work right away. Here it is, 4 easy steps. First, during the meeting, just focus on capturing the data. Take notes, try to understand, don't stress about memorizing anything. Step 2, and this is the most important part, immediately schedule a 30 to 60-minute study block in your calendar. Treat it like it's a real meeting, because it is. Third, during that time, you have to do the work. And I don't mean just reread your notes. I mean, summarize them in your own words. Try to explain the concept out loud to an imaginary coworker. Or, even better, try to apply it to a real project you have on your plate. And finally, step 4. A day or so later, just take 5 minutes to quickly revisit that core idea.
That little bit of repetition is what helps lock in those new neural connections for good.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Just think about all the meetings you sat in, the articles you skimmed, the videos you watched this week. Most of that information, it's just going to fade away. But now you know how to pick one key insight, one important idea, and consciously install it as a permanent skill. So my question for you is, what will you choose to truly learn this week?